Hey everybody, it's Emily, the Crazy Worm Lady. I just wanted to show you, these are the worms and cocoons that were left over from our experimental bins. I just kind of hand-picked through them. So most of the worms have been saved in the harvesting process, but there's a cocoon there, that gold color, as well as over here, another one. And then added a little water in here because they seem disturbed. But you see there's an orange color, and these yellow are more freshly laid. They get that dark red burgundy color just before hatching. So I wanted to give you guys this quick peek before I jump into my video today, which is something a little bit special. I was tagged. So let me put these worms back in a bin and I'll be back to share with you what that's all about. Okay guys, so let me be honest for a minute. I am not comfortable in front of the camera. I am much more comfortable behind it. So I think today I am going to just go through some of my castings and show you what I've harvested, and I might even start potting some seedlings up. That way I can talk about being tagged and not necessarily have to be awkward in front of the camera. So I'm going to get some of that stuff together and we will get started. Okay guys, so these are the castings that I harvested with an 1/8 inch screen. Really, unless you're selling your castings commercially, I don't think it is necessary. It's time consuming and your castings really have to be at a perfect moisture content for it to screen well without difficulty. But anyway, I am going to start talking to you about being tagged. So Catherine from My Hillside Garden, she tagged me in what originally was a tagging post that went around in the gardening community, and she was kind enough to think of me as kind of an offshoot of the gardening community. And basically there's 5 questions and 5 answers that I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself, and then I'm going to recognize a few channels that I like and encourage you guys to go check them out. Okay guys, so I'm going for ultra basic seed starting mix. I'm at approximately like 9 quarts of coconut coir, and the suggested amount of castings to add to that would be about 1 parts or so. So I'm going to add a quart here of the worm castings and mix that well inside of this seed starting mix. Gives you an idea of how potent people consider these worm castings to be, that you need so little in comparison to whatever mix you're using. So that looks like that's about 1 part. So I'm going to get planting the seedlings. Okay guys, so the 5 questions and 5 answers that I was challenged to answer. And the first question was, why do I vermicompost? And that's not a real straightforward answer. I got started vermicomposting because we moved into our house and we had an area to plant a garden, and I was researching organic ways to garden and I came across vermicomposting, so I researched it a little bit more, and I guess still somewhat on a whim ordered some worms and a Worm Factory 360. So the idea of organic gardening and growing my own food was definitely very appealing to me. So the next question is, why YouTube? And that's also a little bit of a complex question. I never got into this with the intention of becoming a YouTuber, but when I started, that was like my main source of educational material, was watching various channels on YouTube and learning what was normal, what wasn't normal, and how people ran their systems. So I decided it would be fun to bring people along on my kind of amateur journey to do vermicomposting. Third question is, how long have I worm composted? And that is about 1.5 years. So I'm still relatively new at it, still learning as I go. But I really enjoy bringing people along because I never like to accept anything as written scripture. I like to test it all myself and prove or disprove theories that I've read about or been taught is true. The fourth question is, what do I raise? So I raise red wigglers, European night crawlers, and African night crawlers. And I guess you could say I technically raise Indian blue worms as well. They are in my mix of the red wigglers. I raise each one for a different purpose. The red wigglers are just kind of the most easy to raise. They go through a lot of scraps, so they're kind of a good starter worm, and that's what I started with. The European night crawlers have been more exciting for me because they're a larger worm and can be used for bait. And then the African night crawlers are completely new to me, but they get even larger than the European night crawlers, and I'm told that they have the most voracious appetite out of all of the composting worms. The fifth and final question is, what is my favorite worm and what is my favorite worm system that I have? So, as I said before, I raise each of my worms for a different purpose, and I don't really think I have a favorite at this point. I kind of love them all the same. And as far as systems are concerned, the Worm Factory 360 works, but I found that it has relatively high rate of problems as well, as far as maintaining appropriate moisture, getting bugs, and that type of thing. The Rubbermaid totes I like a little bit more. They seem to have less problems in my experience, but they also have a little bit of trouble with moisture. It's hard to keep the bins from getting waterlogged. And I'm new to the continuous flow-through bins, but I do have an urban worm bag, which I'm really enjoying. It's not really having any problems. It seems to maintain the moisture well, and I like the capacity that it has. So really, every system that I have has its pros and cons, and I really still enjoy experimenting with each and every one of them. So now my challenge to you guys is to check out some of these other worm YouTubers that I watch, to kind of support some of these smaller channels. This isn't a hobby that is really mainstream right now, so it's really great to support each other as a community. So some of my favorite channels are World Composting, which is Noel Davis's channel. It was one of the first channels I ever found on YouTube on worm composting, and I took a lot of my ideas from him. He composts in 10-gallon Rubbermaid totes. When I decided to do totes, I decided on 10 gallons because of his advice. He also uses some burlap in his bins, and I've tried that as well. So a lot of information that I've got has been from him. So that's World Composting, and I will link all of these channels below. The second person I'd like to recognize is A Little Dirt Never Hurt. Provides a lot of information on kind of larger scale commercial composting, and also has a lot of like DIY troubleshooting problems in your worm bins, and I've been following that channel for a long time as well. Then there's A-V. This gentleman is newer to worm composting as well, but he has some amazing camera technology and capabilities with slow motion and time lapse, and I really enjoy his videos a lot. I enjoy Down to the Roots. His channel's been around a long time, and recently he's picked up and been doing some more videos on how he feeds his worms. He keeps his worms outdoors, so that's always interesting to see how he maintains their beds at a good moisture level as well. And the final channel I would like to recognize is Anarchy Worm Bin, and that is Tori's page. She is a friend of mine from the vermicomposting Facebook web pages. She is newer to YouTubing, but she's actually been vermicomposting longer than I have. And I'm really excited. She's put out her first few videos in the last week or so, and her sense of humor and her knowledge is really invaluable to anybody getting started in the hobby. So please check out these channels, let them know that the Crazy Worm Lady sent you, and I will talk to you guys soon. Now that I've made a thorough mess of everything in here, I'm going to get some of my seedlings started. But when you visit these channels, please let them know that they have been challenged to ask and answer the same questions and to pay it forward to other channels that they enjoy as well. And I would really appreciate if you guys tell me what content that I provide is most valuable to you. What do you like the most? Am I posting too much? What do you enjoy the most? What would you like to see more of? I want to make sure that I continue to give you guys the content that you deserve and that you want. So I will be happy to do that for you guys if you guys go and check these channels out, and hopefully we can keep this train rolling and get some more people the spotlight they deserve.